covering the entire Piedmont Triad and everywhere you are. This is WXII 12 News at 5.
And happening right now on WXII 12 News at 5, a cold and wet wake-up for a local college student who police say was sleep driving.
It can be dangerous. I've had a patient sleepwalk, and when he woke up, he had a gun in his hand. And so the first thing I told him was get rid of the gun because who knows what could have happened. So some very unusual things can happen with sleepwalking.
Details of what happened and what else local health experts have to say about this uncommon condition.
Good evening. Certainly not something you hear about every day, but a High Point University student is recovering tonight after investigators say he got into his SUV and started driving while still asleep.
The dangerous 3-mile drive came to an end at Oak Hollow Marina off Centennial Street. David Janot has the story.
We've all heard of sleepwalking, but police say a High Point University student managed to sleepwalk into his car and drive 3 miles before crashing into this lake. Tire trucks can be seen in the grass where a tow truck pulled the car out of 10 feet of water. High Point police say the 21-year-old student was sleep driving, going from his dorm room all the way to Oak Hollow Marina, 3 miles away from campus. He finally woke up from his sleep driving after getting splashed by the cold water of the lake.
About 4:30 this morning, we got a call about a subject that was in one of the neighboring houses here, knocking on the door. He was described as being wet, and so we sent an officer down to investigate. And upon arrival, we found that the vehicle had crashed through the gate here behind us and had gone across the grass behind me and into the lake.
Police tell us that the student was treated for hypothermia and that he's going to be okay, and that all of this came from what they say is a medical condition. In High Point, I'm David Janot, WXII 12 News.
911 tapes from this ordeal have just been released to WXII 12 News. Take a listen.
High Point 911, what's your emergency?
We have a person in the neighborhood. He appears to be going door to door, banging on people's doors. He looks like he's only in swim trunks and looks like he's soaking wet.
At this time, the name of the High Point student has not been released.
So how common is sleepwalking, or in this case, sleep driving? We talked to a local doctor about the condition.
About 1% of the population or less has issues with sleepwalking. Triggers include fever, illness, or sleep deprivation. It tends to run in families, and so there is this genetic predisposition, and you will find families that have 1 or 2 sleepwalkers in the family.
Dr. Spangler says that 1% figure is for adults. He says sleepwalking occurs in up to 15% of children.
In Kernersville, one person was killed today on a crash on Interstate 40. It happened early this morning in the westbound lanes. Authorities say a pickup truck crashed into a guardrail. 58-year-old Barbara Worthington, a passenger, was killed. The driver, 66-year-old Barbara Mock, was taken to Wake Forest Baptist. She has been released. Traffic in the westbound lanes was closed for a few hours. All lanes have since reopened.
The question of why still surrounds yesterday's shooting spree at the Navy Yard in the nation's capital. 13 people, including the gunman Aaron Alexis, were killed yesterday. We're learning more tonight about Alexis, a former Navy reservist who had a string of misconduct problems in his 3 years of service. However, the 34-year-old was honorably discharged. Officials say he was still able to keep his security clearance, even after being treated for mental problems in the last few weeks, including hearing voices in his head. And this just in, authorities say that Alexis visited a shooting range in Virginia the day before the shooting and bought a shotgun. Today we learned that a Fayetteville woman is among the victims killed in yesterday's shooting. 51-year-old Mary Knight was an IT contractor for the military who also taught at Northern Virginia Community College. She'd been living in the D.C. area for 5 years. Knight leaves behind 2 daughters. Today, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory ordered the lowering of U.S. and North Carolina flags at all state buildings from now until September 20th in honor of yesterday's victims. Also today, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel attended a special ceremony at the Navy Memorial in Washington as a tribute to those killed. Hagel and Joint Chiefs Chairman General Martin Dempsey placed a wreath next to the lone sailor statue at the memorial before taps was played. Continuing coverage of the Navy Yard shooting is coming up tonight at 5:30. Our Sally Kidd will bring us the latest details in our exclusive report from Washington, D.C. And for the latest news and headlines, you can always check with WXII12.com.
Attorneys for the Charlotte police officer accused of shooting an unarmed man over the weekend represented their client in court today. Defense attorneys claim their client, Officer Randall Carrick, was justified in the shooting of 24-year-old Jonathan Farrell. Farrell was shot 10 times early Saturday morning while running toward police. He was involved in a single car accident and was looking for help at a nearby home when the homeowner called 911. We're 2 weeks away from the Affordable Health Care Act going into effect, providing insurance to millions of uninsured Americans. But getting information about the program hasn't been easy in states like North Carolina. Bill O'Neill has a story now from Greensboro, all new at 5 o'clock.
North Carolina is one of the Republican-led states opposing Obamacare, which includes turning down millions of dollars in federal aid to help educate the public.
And they've gone about the business of sabotaging it as effectively and persistently as they can.
Today, inside the former HealthServe Community Clinic, which shut down after the state refused to expand Medicaid. Obamacare supporters accused Republican leaders of trying to sabotage the new health care system. Two doctors joined with a group called Protect Your Care, questioning why the state isn't helping those who might benefit from Obamacare. They note how the General Assembly refused $74 million in federal funding that would have helped hire 500 workers to help educate the public about the new health care options, and question why Governor McCrory and Health Secretary Aldona Vos hasn't done anything to help North Carolinians sign up for the new program. As a result, only 2 insurance companies are signed up to provide coverage in North Carolina.
Which means very limited competition. We don't expect to see the significant rate drops that we've seen in New York and California, where the rates are down by 50%, because those states fully cooperated with the Affordable Care Act. But here, because of the obstruction and the unwillingness to work with the full implementation of the act, we have a very limited pool of people bidding and competing.
Obamacare goes into effect October 1st, but you can start getting information right now. You can go to our website, WXII12.com, and there look for our new healthcare reform section and find out everything you need to know. In Greensboro, I'm Bill O'Neill reporting. Back to you.
We have a pretty terrific afternoon out there. Temperatures easily 10 degrees cooler than they were this time yesterday. A few more clouds out there, a little bit of a breeze too. You're looking at downtown High Point. No rain in the forecast though, and a crisp, cool morning in store for you. Let's take a look at the numbers for today. We had afternoon highs that were 75 degrees in Greensboro, 73 in Winston-Salem. We're sitting right now very close to 70. Even a few spots like Mount Airy in the 60s already at 69. This morning temperatures were in the upper 50s from Greensboro to Winston-Salem, closer to 50 degrees in our mountain towns. Normally in the month of September you would have an average low of 61. Now the forecast for tomorrow morning takes us down to 50 degrees. There will likely be some high 40s too from North Wilkesboro to Martinsville, Danville, and Galax. Off to a pretty chilly start tomorrow morning. I'll be back with your 7-day forecast coming up.
In Colorado, the number of people reported missing continues to dwindle as the search and rescue efforts in the mountain communities of that state continue tonight. Several towns became isolated after last week's torrential downpour collapsed roads and left thousands with no power. Still, the death toll from the flooding continues to rise. It now stands at 8.
In New Jersey, investigators have ruled that massive fire on the Jersey Shore boardwalk was accidental. Firefighters have linked the fire to some electrical wiring and equipment that was compromised by Superstorm Sandy. The fire last week destroyed more than 50 businesses in Seaside Park and Seaside Heights. Back here in the Triad, police are investigating a double shooting at a motel. The story takes us to the Red Roof Inn on Meadowview Road in Greensboro. Police in Greensboro say just after midnight, 2 teenagers were shot there. No word tonight on the conditions of 19-year-old Ketkau Mavari and 17-year-old Luciano Young. So far, no arrests. Authorities in Rowan County are searching for a suspect in a deadly shooting that forced 2 schools to go on lockdown. This happened yesterday afternoon in Salisbury near Livingstone College and Salisbury High School. One man's been arrested in the murder of 19-year-old Abraham Jenkins. Police say that another is on the run.
Right now, Greensboro police say a man whose decomposed body was found last night died of natural causes. Fingerprints help identify the victim, 68-year-old Thomas Cole. His body was found off South Elm Street near Union Cemetery and a homeless camp. Authorities are on the hunt for 2 people accused of stealing $1,500 worth of merchandise from a North Carolina Walmart. High Country Crime Stoppers and Boone Police want to know if you recognize the pair. They're accused of stealing items including computers, a Keurig coffee maker, and a microwave last Friday. If you recognize them, give Crime Stoppers a call at 828-268-6900. 2 people are in jail tonight charged in a Randolph County restaurant robbery. Matthew Olson and Ryan Mullins were taken into custody minutes after a holdup at the Tokyo Express on East Dixie Drive in Asheboro. Police say the men, armed with a gun and knife, got cash and ran out of the business. They were arrested during a traffic stop nearby.
More than 1,000 people attended a protest outside the Rowan County Administration building last night, all in support of the County Board of Commissioners' decision to pray before their meetings. ACLU has filed a lawsuit against the Rowan County Commissioners. 3 residents had complained that commissioners were alienating other members of the community with their prayers. Among those in attendance last night, Pastor Ron Beatty of Berrien Baptist Church in Winston-Salem.
A missing man in Greensboro has been found safe. Police say 79-year-old Ralph Moore had been missing since 7:30 this morning in the area of Camborne Street. We're told he suffers from dementia. He was found about 2 hours later. She helped hundreds of people kick the habit in a powerful media campaign. 53-year-old Terry Hall of Lexington passed away on Monday. Her voice box was removed years ago, leaving her with a hole in her throat and barely able to talk. It was just last week that the Centers for Disease Control estimated more than 100,000 Americans quit smoking as a result of the media campaign featuring Terry Hall.
Some teens pitch in to help a local family get a home. More on their team effort coming up on WXII 12 News at 5.
Also, walking for a cause. More on the important message from these men pushing strollers.
And are you addicted to food? A North Carolina woman shares her story and how she thought about taking her own life.
I've got my eyes on the streets, and I'll update you on traffic when we come right back.